Hey there folks, it's Gabriel here. Sorry I couldn't be here today, but I had some obligations for school to attend to. But when Frankie said that he wanted to do a presentation on music this week, I knew that I couldn't pass up the opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about it, even if it is by proxy like this. So one of the big things I wanted to impress on you guys today is the importance of music in games. Music is really such a fundamental part of the game experience that I would even put it on par with the art design in terms of importance. Do you believe me? Well, let's take a look at some of the ways some cool games use music, and what would happen if the music were changed. We'll start with Katamari Damacy. So you can tell that the game's just going for a ludicrous, over-the-top, fun music that really perfectly complements the gameplay and the theme. But it kind of gets you to wondering, what would happen if you replaced it with something a lot more bland and unfitting? Let's check that out. Suddenly the game just seems a lot less fun. It loses a lot of its wacky and crazy flavor and ends up just becoming really boring. It doesn't really look like it would be something fun or interesting to play anymore. But hey, good thing it did have good music though, right? Next, let's look at one of the Super Nintendo's best RPGs, Final Fantasy VI. So you can tell that this is some cool, regal-sounding music meant to emphasize the noble atmosphere of the castle, as well as give you a sense that you're doing something really important. So let's try replacing it with music from a different, lesser-known Super Nintendo RPG. There's really not much of a sense of anything here. It doesn't sound regal, it doesn't sound important. It really only just sounds annoying, and it would be annoying to play as well. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced you that a big part of the enjoyment of your favorite games, whether or not you notice it, comes from its music. So let's see what would happen if we took a game and improved its music. That music that I ruined Final Fantasy with earlier was from a Super Nintendo RPG called Eternal Felina, a game based on the Japanese novel and anime series of the same name. It was never released outside of Japan. It's an interesting little game with a neat story and interesting characters, but one thing that stands out about it in a bad way is that the game has some pretty terrible music. So let's see what happens if we make its music better. Suddenly the battle becomes a lot more interesting and intense. The game's a lot more fun to play, and you really feel as if you're striving against a powerful evil force. So you've seen how good music can really benefit a game's ambiance and feel, but it can actually do a lot more than that. With good music, you can actually control how a player feels and reacts to a situation. A good example of this is in Left 4 Dead. It does a really good job of guiding the player's experience throughout the game, assigning different music to what's happening on screen. I'm going to focus on one particular point of the game, and that's when you find a witch, the quiet, sobbing zombie girl that flips out on you if you startle her. Pay attention to the difference in the music between when she's passive and when she's angry. Pretty awesome how the music changes from creepy ambiance to frightened panic mode, right? It really helps the player to understand, without words or explanations, that there's danger. But what would happen if it were something a little more silly? So this is actually a mod that some fans of the game created. But imagine you were playing this. Do you think it would cause you to take witches less seriously? Or maybe it would cause people to startle them on purpose more often? These are the kinds of things that game music can do. Not only affect people's emotions, but also affect their behavior. Another good example of some games that fit music to gameplay really well are the 3D Zelda games. It's especially apparent in their battle themes. Let's listen to Wind Waker's battle theme. This is played whenever there's an enemy in the area, so it starts off soft and cautious. But it quickly grows more threatening. Eventually transitioning into a full-on battle theme. This progression allows more difficult and threatening enemies to get a more threatening sounding theme just by the simple fact that it takes longer to beat them. The cool thing about this as well is that it scales with your skill. If you have difficulty fighting the enemies, even the smallest ones will get a threatening theme, while if you're really good, you'll dispatch them before the music gets past its cautious part. So let's see this in practice, first with a quick to defeat enemy. Notice also the little musical overtures played whenever your sword hits an enemy. And now with one that needs a little more effort. Twilight Princess takes this a step further, and actually has two tracks. This one is played when an enemy is nearby. You still have that rising tension, but this track is used more for when a player is sneaking around dangerous enemies. This one is used when an enemy is directly attacking you. Let's see how this works in practice. So what I want you guys to take away from this is, first, your music is one of the most important parts of your game design. Second of all, you should choose music that's appropriate in tone and theme. And lastly, integrating music with gameplay can make things a lot more fun and interesting. I also want to extend a thank you to the following YouTube users, to the creators of these games, to this website for the jazz music used in the Katamari segment, and to this guy for the cool Left 4 Dead mod. And now I want to hear from you. How have the games you've played used music in interesting ways?